Hey, hey. Howdy, howdy.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
everyone. We missed you last week.
Yeah.
That was a hard day for me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Monday,
So,
yeah, it was Tuesday was the hard day. Monday night,
well,
I'm not sure. Tuesday was hard,
Monday was had to have been pretty bad too.
pretty bad. So, what happened was so we had a wonderful time visiting Stephen and Jenna and Brooklyn and her husband Josh. We had so much fun. We ate lots and lots of yummy food. We played fun games with the kids. We went to an animal shelter and visited lots of pets. And we went to a little aquarium at the mall.
Didn't
And
adopt any pets.
we didn't adopt any pets, but we thought about it. I mean,
There was a big ass Great Dane there, like
oh, what a
size of a
sweetheart.
bus.
What a sweetheart. And there were these little cats named Romeo and Juliet. All they wanted to do was snuggle.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. And we went to this little aquarium in the Baton Rouge Mall, of all places. And it was really nice.
Yeah, Blue Zoo. I think it is a chain. Like probably other people have heard of it. In chat.
Yeah, it was pretty fun though. I mean, it was a nice little thing. I mean, God, my mall doesn't have anything like that. But Brooklyn really fell in love with the Gara rufa, which are like the pedicure fish, which
I liked them too.
I don't like the way those
I'd
feel.
get in the bathtub with them. Just let them go everywhere.
I don't like the way they feel on my hands because I don't like my fingernails touched. I think I'd be okay with it on my feet. Jake was unwilling to try. He's just like, nope, no little fish all over me. So, but we petted stingrays. I mean, that's always fun. And we
Those
fed the
stingrays
pigeons.
really wanted to be petted too.
They did. I
Like
mean, they
you put your
swam
hand in the
right
water
on.
and they would
Yeah.
detect your hand, they would turn, make a beeline right to you.
Yeah. So that was fun. It probably feels good to have a nice little back scratch. I mean,
Yeah.
but so we had a good time there and just so nice to see friends. It's good to see our friends. But we had on Monday, we had a flight at 4:25 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And we left with plenty of time to get
Left
there.
it too.
Yeah, and it's only an hour to the Baton Rouge airport. We had our boarding passes printed out. Jake and I have TSA pre-approval and we weren't checking bags. So we literally needed 10 minutes at that airport. And we were, what do you think, like 10 miles from the airport?
A little bit more than that. Like we were probably maybe 20
15
minutes
miles?
from the
Yeah.
airport with plenty
Yeah.
of time.
And we were on one of the big bridges with this. Was it the Pontchartrain Bridge or?
No, I don't know if we were on the bridge. We were on I-10,
Yeah,
and
we were on
we were
I-10.
a couple of exits away from being there.
Right.
And yeah,
And a car blew up. It had a fire, and they diverted us to an exit, and even the oncoming traffic coming from the opposite direction had to cross the median and go off that exit. Blah 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 blah. That detour took like
standstill traffic. It was over an hour.
An hour and a half.
Yeah.
So while we should have been very early, we got to the airport at exactly 4:25. So we missed our flight. And there were no other flights. There were none. And they said the earliest we can get you back is at 11 a.m. the next day. And I'm like, well, that's that. And Jake's like, I can't get anyone to cover me for me at work. And so he's like, we're going to have to drive.
That is horrible, though. Nobody would be available to cover for him. Like the first.
Everybody's out sick. I mean, like illness has swept Roche, like, between norovirus and influenza. He has so many coworkers out sick. So there was no one to cover for him. And so we rented a car and we thought we would get back by like 8 a.m. But then there was a snowstorm and Jake drove all night. We didn't sleep. But there were snowstorms in southern Indiana and northern Kentucky. So we got there at 10:15. Now that flight would have gotten us there at 11. we came 45 minutes. I got a little sleep. I probably slept badly for maybe an hour or two in the car.
Car sleep sucks. Plane
Yeah,
sleep
and
sucks.
I couldn't sleep because I was afraid he would fall asleep. So every time there was a bump or anything, I was afraid. He drank so much Diet Mountain Dew that he says he's lost a taste for it and no longer wants to drink Diet Mountain Dew. So I guess there's a bonus. But
Time to switch to Double Dew.
Oh God! Well, that has sugar in it. He's not going to drink that. But
yeah.
But yeah. So it's yeah. I was worthless at work on Tuesday. Didn't get anything done. Jake, someone still had to cover for him. Like his manager had to go and like pretend to teach his class, I guess, because he's not signed off to do it. But whatever. Like nothing could be done. And he taught in the afternoon and like a zombie because he hadn't slept at all. I slept 12 hours that night, so I felt fine, and he slept probably 11. But yeah, it's so Nathan says that car sleep is the best sleep, but you can't have good car sleep if you're terrified that your driver is going to fall asleep.
Yeah,
that's because I can sleep in a car too if I feel confident that my driver is not going to kill me. So,
for me, it doesn't matter. I can't sleep well in a car or a plane. I can't. I got to be in my own bed, and the conditions have to be perfect, or else it's just. I mean, even still, I could have random.
You're not
insomnia.
great at sleeping. I mean,
nah,
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at sleeping, and I mean, I sleep in most hotel rooms pretty well, and I can sleep a little in a car, but I was just really. Yeah, it was not good. So anyways, that was our adventure. And it was 1,000 miles driving from New Orleans airport to Fort Wayne. And then, but Jake also had to drive to Indianapolis for work. So that was an hour and a half. So on top of all that. So it was over 1,000 miles of driving. Yeah. So it was kind of adventure. In hindsight, we should have just taken that flight.
And Brent says, well, that all sounds like a shitty exit from the P's.
But
wasn't a good time there.
It wasn't anyone's fault. I mean, we left plenty early, especially considering we had checked in. We have TSA pre. We weren't checking bags. Like all I needed was 10 minutes to catch that flight.
When a road is closed in Louisiana, the whole state's ruined. I remember one time an 18-wheeler overturned in the morning back when I worked in an office, and our daughter was an infant, and I was taking her to daycare at like 7 in the morning. An 18-wheeler overturned. I wasn't even on the interstate, but I was just coming on surface streets from home, and what is usually a 15-minute drive took 2.5 hours to get her to daycare. Because all the detour traffic went that way. It was a standstill. It was just the worst.
I think honestly it's because you guys have so many bridges that are so long.
Maybe so.
And there just aren't the alternative routes. Like in Iowa, every cornfield has a road. So there's somewhere to divert you to, but there's just so many bridges down there. And the bridges are so long that I think it messes everything up because there just were no good routes to divert us to. And yeah, I mean, but it was no one's fault. We left plenty early, and it wasn't your fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't that person whose car blew up. They were having a really shitty day, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably a worse day.
The worst day. I mean, God. Yeah, so the 186 element says, even with TSA pre, I also arrived I don't arrive 2 hours early. No.
I mean we're going to be an hour and a half early as it was, which is
that's the whole reason I got TSA pre.
Yeah.
So I could spend less fucking time at airports. I mean, I have TSA pre, and now I have global entry too. So I can get through customs quick.
And Geek Boy still blames me. That's the reason
we have that. I mean,
I still feel bad about it, it's still empathy for having to drive all night. That sucks.
I know, but I mean, the thing is, when you travel a lot, you can't prevent mishaps. You can show up 2 hours early, and guess what? There will be a traffic jam that still makes you miss your flight. You know, it's it's just the way it goes. But you just have to laugh about it and be flexible, and you can't get angry. So
you can. You just
but that does no good. It does no
good. So
you know.
Annette said she is here to hear about yummy food.
Okay, well, I mean, the food down there is really good. One of the many good reasons to visit Stephen and Jenna. First of all, you don't just get Stephen and Jenna, you get Brookley.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a package deal, and that's super fun. And
had to pull Brookley away from being so damn busy. Like, I haven't seen Brookley in a long time.
Well, she is busy because she is now coaching color guard, which is very exciting. But you know, it's so that was fun. And I mean, the seafood down there, if you like seafood, is so good. It's just so good. The shrimp, like, maybe you think you've had shrimp that are good, and maybe you have, like, you've had shrimp that are good because you live down there, but I can't get shrimp that are that good up here. They're just so juicy and tender and so good. And we had like soft shell crab, and I had alligator, which I've never had before. And I mean, I had crawfish, and it was just really, really good. And it's always really good. And I would say that it's not that expensive for food, and it's really, really great. So
yeah, I think the most expensive place we went to was Jubin's, but that's like kind of an upscale place.
Yeah, anyway. But that's a fancy restaurant. And the thing is, a restaurant of that fanciness in another place would be twice as much. So, but it was really good. And so I highly recommend the food down there. Plus, we had king cakes, which are delicious. So Corey says that TSA pre has become too common, and that is a problem sometimes in airports. So you kind of just have to gauge it. But, you know, usually one of the two lines will save you time. So if you have the option for TSA pre, I think it's a good deal. Getting global entry is a lot harder than getting TSA pre. Getting TSA pre is very easy. It's like $75. At least in the state of Indiana, getting an interview is trivial. There are a million places to go get it. You can get them. You don't even have to make an appointment in advance. You can drop in and get it. It takes about 10 minutes of your time and a background check. You have to be able to pass a background check. Not everybody can. Getting global entry is an ordeal. So that's like, I think, $125. You pass a background check, and then you get pre-approved. And then you have to do an interview at one of their sites. There are no sites in the state of Indiana.
Oh, geez.
And to make an appointment to get a site anywhere within like a 6-hour drive of us, it was a 6-month wait time. So you can also get an interview like upon your return from a country. So when we got home from Germany, we stood in line at O'Hare for 3 hours for our interview after we'd been awake for 20 hours because we just arrived from Germany, and then we did our interview. And so we have global entry. That was very hard to get. I mean, there are some places where you live, you can get interviews easier than others. But yeah, that one was hard. But I have to say, like, when I got home from Colombia, I waltzed through that line. I didn't even stop walking. It was so easy. Whereas, like,
that's got to feel nice when you're
I've stood in line.
Home.
I've stood in line at customs for over an hour before. And this, I just walked through the line. So it was really nice. And I fly international once or twice a year. I fly, lately it's been every month. So
you've been traveling a lot.
A lot. Yeah, I'm going to stay home for a while because it occurs to me I have flown every single month for the past 6 months.
Well, at least you've picked up every known pathogen in the world and have lived through it. So
I know I need a break. But I mean, this new client I have, I'm probably going to be going to California about 4 times a year too. So
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 Nick said,
anyways, yeah.
I'm looking sharp with this haircut. Not a haircut. It has reached the tipping point where I'm just combing it back
Comb it
to
back.
easily manage it, and I got to go get a haircut.
I
soon.
actually I got a haircut, but my hair doesn't look that great right now because I had a massage this afternoon, so she put oil on my scalp and I look oily.
Well,
but it felt nice.
Eric streamed at 3 p.m. Central, and he closed out his stream with a question about pearling. He said that his algae that's growing on the top of his stump in one of his tanks is pearling. It's releasing bubbles or perhaps trapping bubbles, but I guess his explanation, he wants an explanation of like why plants or pearl, or are they pearling? What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it means nothing. So, I've seen this a lot.
If it's not pearling at all, like if it's just like you did a water change or there's enough water turbulence at the top of it that it just kind of traps some gas in there.
I've seen that a lot of times on forums. They're like, oh, look at my plants pearling, but they just did a water change. And that's actually like a photography trick. If you want to have pictures with like, with bubbles on them, you can do.
Or they will pour what you call it, seltzer. Or,
you can do that too, because that's not plain seltzer. That's not going to hurt them. So, that's a thing you can do. But plants, when they're pearling, true pearling. So, as part of photosynthesis, plants take in CO2 that is dissolved in the water column, or if they're atmospheric plants, they take it in from the atmosphere, and a waste product is O2, oxygen, and that will be released from, they're called stomata, which are the pores in the plants, and it will sometimes look to be little bubbles, sometimes bigger than others, and some plants pearl more than others. In my experience, nothing pearls more than Bulbidus hudulati. It pearls like crazy.
But you don't grow pearlweed. It lives up to it. It lives up to its name pretty well.
That's true. But I still
think like a freaking airstone.
Pearls. I think it pearls even more. Like, it's crazy how much it pearls.
I'll tell you what really pearls is when you break a leaf on a lily.
Oh,
when that's the damaged leaf starts releasing oxygen.
That's the other thing. So people will think their plant is pearly, but it's just an injured plant. So in their vasculature, there are dissolved gases. Some of that is CO2, some of that is O2. And if you injure a leaf, you'll get little lines of bubbles coming out. That's not pearling per se. That's just an injury. And that happens in plants all the time. But true pearling is because of photosynthesis, and algae can do photosynthesis too. So algae can also pearl. And it's something to laugh about, I guess. Like, look how much my algae, how healthy and growing it is, because
I've had some really happy algae.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people want their plants to pearl. That's, a thing they want. Some people don't want pearling because the bubbles annoy them. Your plants can be growing and happy without pearling. Your plant, you can have a bunch of algae and it can pearl, and maybe you don't want that. So it's not really indicative one way or another of desirable.
Yeah. Or if it like injecting CO2, I've had like really fine filamentous algae that I didn't even see with my own eyes until it started catching those CO2 bubbles. And
and that's the other thing. Like sometimes like moss, especially, or like algae, it can kind of catch other bubbles that are coming up from other places. So they're not really pearling themselves, but they're just catching those bubbles. So Corey asked, doesn't pearling only happen when you reach a maximum oxygen in the water column? So technically you could have totally healthy plants and no pearling. So it's localized, right? It would be localized concentration of dissolved oxygen, because gases, everything exists in gradients across your tank. So maybe you have full saturation on the, this little left-hand part of your tank, but you don't right here. And so, you're going to get pearling from this plant, but maybe not from that one. I mean, circulation of your water is going to kind of remove some of that gradient, but there's always going to be some localized gradient. And that localized gradient is going to be highest concentration right near the pore of the plant. They're called stomata, where the gases exchange out of. So, and you can have totally healthy plants with no pearling. And just some plants pearl more than others.
Now,
And that doesn't mean they're unhealthy.
Have you ever seen a very crappy looking unhealthy plant seemingly release gases? Like,
yeah, I mean,
like,
if they're covered, yeah, they could be covered in algae, you know, and
like photorespiration. Does that happen in an aquarium?
No. So photorespiration happens because the enzyme that fixes carbon in plants is called rubisco. Mm-hmm. It stands for RUBP, which is a sugar, carboxylase oxygenase.
Damn,
and what this sugar
memorized?
Well, that's because it's the most abundant plant enzyme. It's the most abundant enzyme on Earth.
Yeah.
It's the most abundant. And what it does optimally is it fixes CO2 to a sugar called RUBP. And that cycles through something called the Calvin cycle. And that's just how it takes in CO2 so it can be turned into glucose and used by the plant. So there are two problems with rubisco. So it's probably one of the most important enzymes on Earth.
Super inefficient.
One, super inefficient. It's so inefficient, you can pretty much write the reaction out faster than that enzyme will turn over. So turnover time refers to you have an enzyme, it binds to a substrate, and it releases products. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then it can bind to another substrate. That's called a turnover time. Some enzymes are so efficient, they can turn over thousands of times per second. Rubisco can turn over like once a second or something, or once every couple seconds. It's so inefficient. It's so inefficient. And someone in the chat is probably like, is it KM or VX? Okay, I can't remember. It's been too long. But turnover time. So it's very inefficient. The other thing is Rubisco ideally will be binding to CO2. Right?
But it catches oxygen.
We want to fix carbon. And when CO2 is very locally concentrated, that's what you're going to bind to. However, it also has some lesser affinity for oxygen. You don't want to do that because you're not going to fix carbon with oxygen. You're actually going to shut down photosynthesis.
And when it takes in too much oxygen, it kind of vomits out the CO2.
So the reason why it has more affinity for CO2 than O2. So that's good. But the reason why, so this is called photorespiration. When you get, when you get this bad thing happening where you're binding to O2 instead of CO2. Mm-hmm. The reason why it happens is during times of water stress, right? Plants have these pores on their leaves, okay? And the pores allow gases to exchange. They allow CO2 to come in and they allow O2 to come out. Well, unfortunately, they also allow water vapor to leave. That's a problem, right? For land plants, it's not raining. They'll dry out. They'll shrivel up. They'll die. Yeah. Plants have to have water. They need water for photosynthesis. They need water for respiration. They need water for everything. We all need water for everything. So
just laughing at this. Rubisco makes good cookies.
Yeah. Well, so does Rubisco. So, but water stress is not a problem in plants. So you could have a situation where CO2 levels are low, and I can't think of a situation where CO2 levels are too low, but O2 levels are unnaturally high and it's forcing binding to Rubisco. I've never heard of any photorespiration in submersed plants. This is a land plant problem. But to finish my story, some land plants have some strategies to deal with photorespiration. So there are some adaptive things that some plants do. So if you're a Midwestern person like I am, you've seen corn plants growing, and you'll see on hot days, the leaves will roll up. So they have these special cells called bulliform cells. And when the water concentration gets low in those cells and the solute concentration gets high, they curl up. And that prevents plants from losing too much water. So that's one strategy. And then the other strategy, some families of plants have evolved different kinds of photosynthesis tricks. So they have little variations of their, it's called the dark reactions of photosynthesis. So they don't do the Calvin cycle in quite the right way. They have an alternative enzyme to Rubisco. Can't remember what its name is. It's not quite as good. So one is called C4 photosynthesis. And that's where grasses do that, certain desert grasses. So corn does that, rice, crabgrass, but not every grass, but a lot of them. So like your, if you notice your lawn in the summer, right in the beginning of the spring, it looks real pretty and you've got those fine leaves growing and it's the kind of grass that everybody likes. It's like that Kentucky bluegrass or fescue, you know, really. But then like later in the summer when it's all hot, you get crabgrass growing and nobody likes crabgrass. Well, the reason why you get a lot of crabgrass is crabgrass can do C4 photosynthesis. And so it can outcompete the other grasses. Because it can
looking at what C3 photosynthesis.
C3
uses.
Photosynthesis is regular photosynthesis. C4 photosynthesis is
gotcha.
Yeah, that's like the special one for grasses. Then the other one is temporal. So what it does is it'll store it in an organic acid. It's called crassulation acid metabolism. And it will fix all that carbon to an acid. And then it will finish up photosynthesis at night when it can open the pores again. It's not so hot out. You're not in danger of water loss. And it can do it then. And plants in the Crassulaceae family do that. So jade plants, that's the most common one that you probably know. It's a house plant. But they're succulents. So crassulation acid metabolism, or it's called CAM photosynthesis. But most plants don't have those strategies. They just do regular photosynthesis. And yeah. All right. Hip Hop Hillaby asked, totally out there question I thought of. Would pumping oxygen in, say like you would CO2 if possible,
so like a direct oxygen injection
or harm? Well, it's not gonna help your plants at all. Plants don't. So plants do need oxygen just like we need oxygen. So plants do photosynthesis. We don't, right? They make their own sugars from sunlight and CO2. We don't. We have to eat our sugars, right? We eat them by eating plants, by eating animals. We can't do photosynthesis. However, everybody does respiration of some sort. And the most efficient respiration is oxidative respiration, which means where you take glucose and you break it down into CO2 and water, and the byproduct of that is CO2. Okay, but you need to do that in the presence of oxygen. It requires oxygen for that. So, and plants do that also. However, they need an excess of CO2 compared to O2. So it's not really going to help them.
Now, wouldn't like a high concentration of oxygen be a little corrosive too, to like possibly the cells? Kind of in the same way that peroxide acts on cells when you're never
going to get your oxygen levels high enough in your tank to be corrosive.
Well, we're talking about like an oxygen tank, I think, with a diffuser, like a CO2 diffuser, but instead of CO2, it's oxygen.
You're still never going to get enough oxygen in your aquarium because water can only dissolve so much partial pressure of oxygen.
Gotcha.
Okay. Liquids can only dissolve so many gases, and it's never as much as the atmosphere. But you don't want to breathe 100% oxygen, because oxygen is actually it's very reactive. It's very very potent oxidator, as the name would suggest. It used to be a poison in our atmosphere until we evolved to use the oxygen. And I say we, meaning our mitochondrial ancestors, right? So very long time ago. But, you know, oxygen is very corrosive, but you're never going to get it high enough concentration in your aquarium. That's not going to happen. So in short, it's not going to benefit your plants. Maybe it could benefit your fish. Probably not, though. They're evolved to deal with the concentrations of oxygen they have. They're not evolved to deal with more than that. Just like you're not evolved to breathe pure 100% oxygen all the time. It's not. I mean,
some fish can deal with very low oxygen levels. Like we went to the bluebonnet swamp and we looked down in the water and there's just like thousands of freaking gambusia, and that like the O2 turnover in that water is not good.
Right. So, you know, giving them more oxygen isn't going to help them.
I meant to ask you, the aerial column I sent you home with, did it survive the trip?
No, it got smashed.
That's okay. I got plenty more I can send you.
Those tough times.
Yeah, I'm sure that was like low on the priority list by the time you got home.
I was just trying not to die. So Dennis Hangle says, this is great. Hyperbaric chamber is the bomb healing wounds because the body saturates higher O2. Dalton's law. Right. I mean, it does for short amounts of time. It is useful, hyperbaric chambers, but you can't live in a hyperbaric chamber. It's not good for you to be in that all the time. So there are times when treating a patient with that is useful, but you know, I don't think you should sleep with an oxygen.
Is that like an iron lung? Is that the same thing?
No, an iron lung would do the movement of like your chest movement for you, because when you have polio, you can't do your muscle contractions you can't do them anymore. And so it would move your chest for you and your diaphragm for you.
Okay.
So yeah.
Weird.
I mean, I've never really seen an iron lung. So.
I've only seen them on TV.
Yeah. Same. Hopefully we'll never have to see one. I hope no one ever gets polio.
Yeah.
But that was quite the tangent. WYP says more oxygen always helps me. So there you go.
Yep. That was a lot of big words. Retain about 4% of it.
You know, we keep saying it, more will get in. That's repetition.
Yeah,
right?
Just repetition.
Yeah.
I mean, what is this stream? It's essentially like, here are the macronutrients you need. CO2 is the most important thing, along with light.
Light, yeah. Well, and water. Water is a macronutrient too.
Definitely need water.
We don't think about in our tanks, but it's something it's kind of the trade-off, right? When you're growing plants in your garden, you think a lot about watering. It's the biggest thing you think of. You never think about CO2. You never think about it. Your plants have tons of it.
Yeah. So. And like the whole putting the plants in the water really helped me grow plants, because
it does. You don't have to water them, but then you have to think about CO2. So, you know,
that's a trade-off. Fun though, because then I get to use test kits and stuff and dial all that shit in.
And you do have to do some testing for your garden. You might want to test your soil once a season. Or one, you know, just at least test it once to see what you're working with. Like, especially if you want to really grow a lot of things, it's good to know. But no.
So Jody said the original rainbow that was having issues passed today. That was when she was 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago.
Yeah, it was having troubles, and it's hard to bring a fish back from that.
Where is Tom Barr? He's in Sacramento. We actually had Tom Barr on the stream.
Tom Barr on. That was fun. Yeah, and Tom Barr is a plant physiologist. I'm not. I'm a geneticist by training. My specialty was meiosis and recombination. So something very different. But I have taught photosynthesis a lot of times because I used to be a professor. And I taught freshman biology, and we would teach photosynthesis. So I have lectured on it, but I'm not a plant physiologist. That's not my number one area of expertise. So, and now I'm no longer a professor. I sold my soul to corporate America. I work for
There
Big
are a
Pharma.
lot of, like, just when I go in the Planet Tank quick auctions and stuff, there are a lot of plant gods on Facebook. It makes me sad that they chose Facebook as their destination, because there's not very many forums out there. I kind of wish all the smart people would congregate
It
on
used to be
one
that way.
platform.
Yeah, it used to be that way. The forums were really, really good. Like when, I did keep fish as a child, but I started again as an adult when I was, I think, like 29 or 28 or 29. And, oh God, that long ago? No, I must have been about 30. But yeah, the forums were really good back then. And it was a lot of really smart people. And there were plant-centric forums, which is kind of what I cut my teeth on. So there was like Aquatic Plant Central was one I really liked, APC. And then there was the Planted Tank was much better back then. And yeah, the forums are kind of not where it's at anymore. And Facebook is hard to search for things. Discourse is just not as good as it used to be.
Well, I mean, it's because forums were not like social media. There was no economy of attention like there is now.
Yeah, and they were well moderated.
Yeah,
there were mods on them. So, I mean, I suppose occasionally there would be drama on them, but it got shut down real fast. But there was a level of discourse that really, you kind of got. I've had to go to YouTube to find it. I think that our Fishcord is a place where you can ask a question and you can get really good information.
Right.
So,
but still, archive-wise, it's not a good repository for information.
Right. So, but on the other hand, no one will ever yell at you to like use the search function.
Yeah, it's like, no, you use a search function. It's freaking horrible.
I know. So you can just keep asking your question again, and that's okay. But yeah, Corey has a forum. Aquarium Co-op does. I haven't gone on there much. I know you go on there a lot, Stephen. It's a little bit more fish centric and a little less plant centric.
There's a plant section. I mean,
yeah, I just
there's the same kind of plant issues crop up, and there's a few people on there that know what they're talking about. Okay, so Dennis did see the Tom stream and said that you were great.
Well, thanks.
I was there and I looked pretty at least.
Tom, and I don't know. I kind of was really nice to have a plant physiologist kind of validate some of the things I've been saying all the time. Like, oh yeah, I guess I do know what I'm talking about. That's
a little bit.
So, but I think on more fish-centric forums, and I even saw this at the time, back then, there's nothing wrong with the plant discourse on it. It's fine, but I guess I would like a little higher level discussion. So
yeah.
Really, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all start somewhere. We're all beginners. Some people don't really think about plants the way I do. That's okay. Plants to them are just something to, keep their tank a little cleaner. But for me, plants are like 50% of the hobby.
Same.
And outside pond
gotta
plants.
have a planted tank.
Outside plants are 99% of the hobby. Like I have
some goldfish and rice fish.
I have them, but whatever. They're there.
Mosquito eaters.
They're they're mosquito eaters, and that's it. I don't care. I mean, I wish them well. I care for them, but it's all about the plants outside. So I suppose in that respect, I do lean more of a plant person, but inside, I do love my rainbows. I love them very much. I'm just I don't breed fish. So I'm never going to be the super fish expert that some people will, because I don't breed them. So it's not my jam. It's not my jam. But we
There's
have
a lot
lots
of
of people we can
variables
go to for asking.
with fish breeding too.
Yeah, for sure. It's you need to understand physiology. There's a lot of voodoo involved in it, which I respect. You know, little tricks that work. And I just don't have the experience with that. That's why I try not to give too many tips on fish breeding because I don't.
I mean, in every case, it's always like this is what worked for me in my water and
Right,
all the many variables.
right. But
Yeah,
since I
it's just
don't do it,
it's hard to like package that into a YouTube video. And so I think what happens is people like latch on to this method that works for them and then they brand it. And then it's like there's another channel that will refute that method, but then like ironically package their own method that's also kind of wrong for a lot of people because it's it's easier to make the thumbnail than it is to say look at all these variables and here's why it works here, but not here and not here. That's not a good video.
yeah. So Corey has a really good question, and it's a good point. How do we beat the chicken or the egg first? People who know plants want high-level plant talk. People who know plants don't get together somewhere to talk plants because others aren't there. Yeah, I mean, you raise a really good point, and I think the very first forum I found as an adult fish keeper was Aquatic Plant Central, which just so happened to have a really high level discourse. But I was getting a PhD in biology. I was fine. I could handle it, you know. But so that audience was already there. But you know, I think you beat it by like having people like Steven post there, who is a more advanced plant grower, and he can post what he's doing with his tanks and his water chemistry, and it does elevate things. And I should post there too. I mean, you know, you have to be the change you wish to see, right? If you want a community, you got to be your community. You've got to build it. And so,
but even me posting there, it's just more of like, here are the things that I have learned from various sources, and like here is how they're working for me. But I can't prove it with anything other than like photos and text.
But experience counts for something. I mean, you have a lot over someone who's, you know, never grown a plant before. That's not nothing. I mean, experience is not nothing. So, I mean, when I first started growing plants, like I didn't have an experience growing plants at all. The experience I had was, you know, I understood photosynthesis. So, you know, you do raise a good point, Corey. You have to be the change you wish to see in the world. I guess part of that is that's why I do this stream, right? I'm trying to get good information out there, at least the best I can. Where we fall short, we have people like Tom Barr on, and you know, I hope that's adding to the discourse of the community. But you know, if you want a good forum, you kind of got to post to forums.
All right, well, get your ass on that forum, and then Corey's working on getting Dean to post there more often.
You know, I think the other thing is like I now do internet like that on my phone. And forums don't work as good on phones. Forums look good on laptops. But for me, like laptops are work. Like I have really like segmented my life. Work on laptops, fun on phones. Like I don't Google anything on a laptop when I'm doing work. I get out my phone and Google it. Like I've really sort of partitioned my life. And I've never found that forums work on phones.
Yeah, I mean the interfaces are getting better. The forum just updated I think it's Envision software, and it looks pretty good. Well organized.
That's good. Maybe I'll try it again because like they used to use what was like Tapatalk or something. I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
I know.
This is awful.
So Tommy says, meanwhile, we're all here thinking about the diversity of the hobby itself, knowing and understanding that there's so many different ways to do a thing and appreciating that.
Yeah.
It's a diverse hobby, and like it's more than just like the different methods, it's different goals too.
Right. I mean, look at Foxy and Peplin. Their goal is to make as many babies of as many fish and get them into good homes and make money. I mean, I respect that goal and I love that goal and I bought their fish, but that is not my goal. I don't want to breed any fish. I don't want to sell any fish. I don't want to do that. So, I'm super happy they have their goal and I can have my goal.
Mm.
How many
Vibes.
plants?
Thanks for the super chat and this question. How many plants for one egg?
What kind of egg?
Yeah, exactly. What kind of egg are we talking?
$1.99. It's not going to buy you many eggs anymore. It's so sad. I mean, used to be able to easy get like 18 eggs for that. Well, bird flu. It's a problem. Yeah. So Ryan, Hoon Aquatic says, I just like taking pretty pictures of fish. And you do such a good job at that. And he's been making content recently. If one of the mods want to drop the link to his channel and his videos,
okay.
His videos are based on I have bred the fish, which is not something I can offer. I mean, like real experience with a fish. So, if you ever complain about like, oh, top 10 fish to make my tank look awesome, number 9 will blow your mind or something like that, but they haven't kept any of them. That's not Ryan. He's out there doing the work, breeding the fish. And I have some of his fish, like his Kalitawa. I have some of them and they're doing great.
Yeah.
So.
And I like taking pictures of fish. I like the idea of taking good pictures of fish. I'm just kind of bad at photography. So I can take 1,000 pictures of the same fish and spend hours. And one of them might be like 10% of the quality of Chris Lukop.
Yeah. Some fish are harder to photograph than others.
Rainbows. They don't stop moving.
Stand still.
Like, right. I want to get them right when they're flared up, like right in that moment.
I know.
Can't
do it.
For
me, like I missed CO2, so I have all these bubbles in the tank. That's annoying. And then I have more than one kind of rainbow, and they always get in the shot. And I'm terrible at it. So
Dennis said, introduced to a new light, the Weak Aqua might give the Chihiros WRGB2 a run for the money at 60% cost. Anyone know of it? Very beautiful light. Well, that is behind me, the Weak Aqua. In terms of the light it shines down on the plants versus the Chihiros, they are equal. Like maybe the par level is just a little bit lower on the equivalent Weak Aqua, but it's also $100 cheaper.
And I saw them last weekend and they look great. I mean, they're look
just
like
as customizable as the Chihiros.
They have great presets with funny names, but they look good. They look really nice. They have good intensity. Yeah.
I think one of the settings is called beautiful and it's just like green as fuck. Like, no, this is not.
It's beautiful if you like green, but it's not the best color to
so the Chihiros app is a little like the Fluval app is okay. It's kind of the best for what you get, like it's not great, but it's also the better of the 3. And then the Chihiros is below the Fluval, and then the Weak Aqua is below the Chihiros. But if you can navigate your way around it and get it set up and then close that app forever and leave it alone, then you're good. And I could see myself getting another Weak Aqua for another tank just to save a few bucks.
Yeah, it is.
If I don't need the additional par, and there's a wider range of the Weak Aquas too. Like you can get that same spectrum, but with like a nano light that's maybe $100 or so. Yeah. So it's a good light.
I mean, if I needed more lights, maybe I would consider it. I'm kind of gone all in on Chihiros. I think I have all Chihiros.
Well, that's the other thing is Chihiros is building an ecosystem, and so that kind of makes it possibly worth it to go all Chihiros if you want the heater, you want the auto doser, and all the other stuff that they're doing.
I mean, the only other Chihiros products I have their chrome intake and outflows, and that's not an electronic product. I mean, I've thought about putting an auto doser on, but I don't know. That's just another thing to make Jake hook up for me, and I don't know. He does enough for me, like because I'm not going to hook it up myself. It's never going to happen. But I guess Steven likes the Weak Aqualight. I can attest that they look good and they're very intense. So,
yeah, just one on top of this 90. I mean, I'm not going to be growing anything that needs like 100, 200 par at the substrate or anything, but
yeah. And I have 2 Chihiro's lights on this. I just felt like one was not getting the job done. So I have a WRGB 2 like 11 or something. And I have a slim because it just wasn't front to back enough coverage. So, yeah. So Corey says, just don't do what I did. Auto doser with a Casa timer and turn on the doser on accident for a solid 1 liter of ferts into the tank.
Whoops.
Oh, God. Whoops. Well, hopefully it was a big tank, but I guess you can water change your way out of that problem. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I would probably put a Casa timer on an auto doser like from Bulk Reef Supply or something too. I am pretty good about fertilizing every time I feed. So that's the other reason I haven't done it. It's just the more automation you have, it's the more can go wrong. Just like Corey. It was 230 gallons of African cichlids. Oh, yeah, they're going to be fine. They shrugged it off. Yeah. I mean, and in your case, wasting a liter of Easy Green. Well, I bet you get a good discount on Easy Green. So, yeah. But whoops.
Yeah, the rest of us don't have the luxury of having a 1 liter bottle of Easy Green.
If only someone would come out with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like that. Easy Green is more concentrated than it used to be, because I like to save plastic. It's a little more environmentally friendly. I think that's good. Corey, you're right here. I hope that you come out with the refill of it. That'd be great. Anything that we can reduce our carbon footprint is a good thing. We should all be trying to do it. So,
yeah, I think the goal is just to like have that container arrive and not like a saturated cardboard box.
I know that shipping is difficult, but like there are other liquid products it must be doable for. I mean, I buy a face soap that has a refillable, like a pouch with a cap. I think there's a dish soap I bought that way. I mean, it's got to be doable with something. The manufacturer will come up with a way. So
Mary's asking, where is Eric? Well, he was here. Hopefully he heard our pearling discussion.
He can watch the replay. As Scotty would say, he can watch the replay. I mean, if he shows up and asks it again, we could just tell him again.
Watch it on double time. Yeah, Brandon says Easy Green in a milk carton, box wine, Easy Green. There you
go. Scotty says he's here. Hi, Scotty. You should be on your treadmill now.
He has a treadmill?
I mean, he was saying that he was fat shaming his little cat because he has a teeny tiny tummy. And he's like, he should go on his treadmill even before I should. I'm like, no, Scotty, you should be on that treadmill.
I feel like if he has a treadmill, that's a pretty large purchase versus the python that he won't get.
No kidding.
I'm getting ready to order a second python and then clean out the first and do what Eric was talking about and do the drain and fill just to build some efficiency.
I find it crazy. My python is clean. It's clean as a whistle. Like there's no gunking or algae buildup.
Do you store it in a dark place?
No, I have it hanging up on a broad daylight. I mean, I do what I've done. I suck it dry. I suck it dry at the end of the cycle, but like in the summer, I mean, we're not as humid as you guys are. We have some humidity. Like, I don't get any algae growth in it. In Iowa, mine got a lot of algae growth in it until I started keeping it in the cabinet under the bathroom sink in the dark. But yeah, this one, it's clean. Brian says one of my pythons is almost 40 years old. Never cleaned it once.
I guess we got well-seasoned pythons, and as long as I haven't worried about it, as long as I'm not seeing the actual contents go into the tank. Like I'm not seeing black stuff.
Yeah, as long as it's not sloughing off on there, it's fine. It's not gonna hurt anything. Yeah, mine it's completely clear. I don't.
How long have you had it?
Oh, years. Almost 5 years.
I think, I've had mine 5 years and done quite a few water changes with it.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I suck it dry and then I hang it up, but it's hanging in daylight. It's not hanging it's not in the dark. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Barbara says that hers has splotches here and there, but 80% clear. Man, mine's 100% clear. So
I guess we're all not sucking it dry enough.
Yeah, I mean, I do that mostly because I don't want water dripping on my wood floors. So yeah. Into the future says any normal person who happened to walk into this conversation about Python seasoning and how to suck it dry would have so many people real confused. I mean,
and we've got 69 viewers right now.
Even Jenna is saying, like, someone going to clip is
can't resist.
Even Jenna. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. If you're watching this, I've got news for you. You're not a normal person. You're not.
We're all a bunch of weirdos.
That's right.
So Zen says, question, am I the only paranoid one that has to run hot water through it first and then cold to make sure any loose stuff exits the tube before use, or just me?
I never do that. I never do that.
Maybe I should now, though.
I mean, but I always suck the water out of my tank first before I add water in. So I don't feel the need to do that. I mean, if I'm
always open to developing new paranoias, though.
I'm not really a paranoid person, so I'm kind of the opposite. I live a trouble-free lifestyle, so I don't do that. I don't think I'm ever going to do that. Yeah.
What about chloramine content when refilling with the Python? In theory, a higher concentration could kill stuff growing in it on the refill. I think
I have chlorine.
I think you and I both have very low amounts of it, though.
I can't even detect it. In
like
fact,
less than a 1 part per million.
Yeah. In fact, my ponds outside, I don't even put dechlorinator in them and they're fine. So, yeah, I mean, inside rainbows are so precious. I would always use dechlorinator.
You have chlorine, though, not chloramine.
I have chlorine. I don't have chloramine.
The exposure time is not going to be long enough, probably, for that low amount.
I don't think so.
Before it gases out. I have chloramine, so yeah, regardless of concentration, I would prefer to just neutralize it.
Yeah, I mean, I still use it indoors. Dechlorinator. Right now, I'm using the Co-op's dechlorinator. Free plug. Here we go. I'm Dr. Kelly Foreman, and I recommend Easy Dechlorinator. It's a great product. There you go. Free plugging. I like it because it doesn't stink.
That's good. Yeah. Alshon says, shameless club promo. If you are in the Philly area, Dr. Ted is doing a presentation at the Bucks County Aquarium Society on March 6th. Topic is favorite plants for tubs, ponds, and water gardens.
Nice. And if one of the mods want to drop the link to his book, I love Ted Coletti's book on pond plants and tub ponds. It's not just on plants, it's on tub ponds in general. It's a short book. It does not cost much money, and it's fantastic. I
wonder if that's what he's going to be talking about at the Clash.
I don't know. He does a couple talks, like he does one on live bearers. I mean, he just formulated a new talk. I'm not sure what it's on. Ted does a few talks. Ted likes to talk, turns out.
Yeah, he did one on Danio's. Only for a co-op.
Right. So I don't know what Ted's going to talk about. We could ask him, I guess. You know what? Ted might not know what Ted's going to talk about yet. It's a ways away.
Could be.
He might. Who knows what he'll do. So.
And there we go.
You should
proof that chloramine makes pythons.
There you go.
Because Barbara's got chloramine as well.
Yeah, I guess when I lived in Iowa, I had chloramine. So maybe there you go. An N of 2 or N of 3.
I just got a reminder on my phone that Rico's birthday is in a week.
Happy early birthday, Rico. So Corey says, my talk at the Clash is going to be about all the talks I've seen. Just a 30-second recap.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. Saving us a lot of time. That's great.
Record it, plug the transcript into ChatGPT, have it spit out a summary. There you go.
So Scotty says, I think Ted may have just been added to Fishfam Link. He was asking me about it. That's great. Ted should be on Fishfam Link. We should all know how to get a hold of Ted. Ted's a cool guy. I like him. We're friends.
What's Jody trying to post?
I don't know.
She said, can't post it. Let me.
Corey says it won't be all from Clash Talks. It's all the talks he's seen over 20 years. I mean, that'll fill in. That's an hour right there. You've seen a lot of talks. Some of them better than others. You haven't seen my talks, though, Corey. I have given talks that you have not seen. Secret talks.
See you later, Shirley. So Ted wants to be a YouTuber.
He made a little bit of content. He made something on how to store pond plants that was pretty good. We should have Ted on again because, like, pond season, it can't come soon enough. Pond season is there for you. Like, this is the time, like, you should be doing pond stuff before it gets miserable hot. But for me, it's 52 degrees today, though. Like, we have a warm week, but it's supposed to be a weird March where there's going to be some cold snaps. So I certainly can't do anything yet. Or I don't want to. Let's put it that way. I don't want to stick my hand in that water. It's too cold.
Yeah, I'll do it. Eventually, I got to divide that lily and change out all of the dirt in the little containers.
Yeah, you could also split up your canna lilies, your cannas. You could split those, plant some of them in the yard for you. That look good. But it's a good time for you to do it before it gets miserable hot. All right. If I get one of these Python contraptions and plug it in the basement, can it fill my saltwater tank on the first floor? No. What?
So we're talking about like pumping it from wherever you're storing your RO water, which I assume you're going to be using RO water for the saltwater.
I would use a pump for that. I would get a pump
because I think you take the Python hose part, not the Venturi attachment, and then I guess you can attach like it's a hose and a pump, and you just need high head. The head pressure needs to be high enough.
You can do that, but I would have a separate hose for your salt water. Because
That's a good point. You don't
want to get a bunch of salt in your freshwater tanks.
That's a good point.
And you don't want to get a bunch of like ferts, whatever is in your freshwater tank into your saltwater tank. As for pathogens, it's not really an issue. Pathogens that grow in saltwater are not going to grow in freshwater and vice versa. But I would get a separate hose. I would have a separate thing. A lot of what people do is they just have a pump that lives in the bottom of their RO barrel or trash can or whatever. And then with a hose attached to it, and they will just use that. You can also do your water changes with hoses if you want from your saltwater tank, because you're going to want to put that down the drain. Salt water, you don't want to put it in your house plants or your lawn, right?
If I do the 20-gallon saltwater tank, I plan to just have a clean 5-gallon bucket that always has mixed water in there if I need to do,
because you're going to do a pretty small tank.
So the goal would be to not do 50% water changes like I do all the other tanks on the saltwater tank.
Here's Big Kitty.
Big Kitty.
Here's Big Kitty. Say hi, Big Kitty. Swear, Big Kitty. Meow. Good job, Big Kitty.
She doesn't mind being held. Fat Kitty freaks out.
He's pretty chill. I mean, he doesn't really like it, though. He doesn't like it. But Tiny Kitty, she's too skittish. So Barbara says, I never use the Venturi part. My tanks are in the garage, so I run the old water out the door into the garden. But our water is stupid expensive, so I'm not going to waste water down the sink. Yeah, I mean, water costs different amounts in different municipalities. You have to run your salt water down the sink. Don't put that in your lawn, but your tank water, it's great if you can use it to water your houseplants, water your garden, water your lawn. That's a great thing to do. Water is pretty cheap for me. In the summer, I'll run it outside. In the winter, I don't really have a good way to run it outside, so I don't. I run it down the drain. I like the Venturi to get it started, get the siphon started, because it's hard to start the siphon otherwise. So, but then I turn the Venturi off. But you have an option what you do.
Damn, somebody just tried to buy a $4,200 ticket out of Ethiopia, according to our joint bank account alert system. So who did it?
I mean, I've always wanted to go to Ethiopia, but that would be a round trip ticket. Jenna says Phoebe is too old to care. Phoebe the kitty. So Jake loves Phoebe the kitty. Just put her where you'd like her to be, and she just leaves when she's ready. That is true. She's
all right. Plant suggestions for an 82-degree tank.
Okay, so swords tend to do a little bit better. Some crypts do a little bit better. Java fern can maybe do a little bit better. A
lot of stuff that's you're gonna put in the shade and just let it grow super, super, super slow.
Yeah, no plant is going to be particularly happy. All plants would rather be, I mean, honestly, aquarium plants would love to be like 70 degrees, you know. They like it cooler. And the reason for that is there's more CO2 dissolved at cooler temperatures because you can dissolve more gases in cooler water. That's just how the ideal gas law works. So, you know, if you're going to use CO2, you're going to turn it on a little higher than you would, but then your fish are probably not going to want that. So, you know, yeah, I would try swords. I would try for a foreground, you could use Liliopsis brasiliensis for a foreground. That's an easy plant. That would do a little better. But plants in general don't like being so crypts, but they don't do great. They're so tough that they can tolerate it.
So Jody sent me a message earlier. She's having her well water tested.
Yeah, because she's had some fish deaths she can't explain.
So what all do you think?
That's the problem.
I mean, yeah, it's worth doing.
I think it's worth
doing the test.
But yeah, what all if you have a well,
test for?
If you have a well, you should get it tested anyways. Like I think annually, just for your family's safety. I'm not sure what the guidance suggests for how often you test your well, but you should get it tested just to make sure it's still safe for your family to drink. So, I mean, they test for a lot of different things. A lot of those are heavy metals, arsenic and lead.
So, coliform bacteria, nitrates, fluoride, iron, hardness, manganese, sulfates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't test those on your own. I mean, coliform bacteria, so that's fecal coliform bacteria. So that's things like E. coli and other pathogens like Campylobacter. You know, those are waterborne diarrhea illnesses that you do not want. Your family doesn't want them. And they are present in farm runoff, which you live in Iowa. Farm runoff is an issue. There are other things that can contaminate your well. So it is a good idea to test it every now and again. For nothing else than your family's safety. But Jody says that she usually does it annually, but we don't drink the water because the softened water ruins the taste. Yeah, that is the thing about water softener water. It
sodium.
Gross. But you still cook with it, you still shower with it. So it's still a good idea to test it. Well, so Corey just ordered a test kit from Germany. Oh, and it gets shipped to Germany.
So $50 for the test to be done. That's pretty good.
Because Corey, you have well water, right? Yeah. I don't know that farm runoff is such an issue where you live, though. But in Iowa, like.
Well, yeah, I know Jody was having the issue with the rainbow and a couple of other things going on with fish.
I have to say the rainbow problem, though, is most likely mycobacterial infection because it always is with rainbows. It always is. So welcome to just being a new member.
Oh, into the future.
Welcome.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like 5 years plus firmly into the hobby, and I feel like 99% of my fish losses happened in the first year of the hobby, just because that was whenever I was acquiring the most fish. That was when I was trying many different sources, and it's kind of touch and go. And I can't attribute every loss to being my fault or a bad source or whatever, but like there's a lot of there was times where there was more than one issue happening at the same time in different tanks. And I hate coincidences, but it just seems to be the case.
The truth is this, is we usually don't know why our fish die.
Yeah.
We usually don't why. And a lot of times people think they know why, but they don't. Because, unless you're doing necropsy on each fish, getting it cultured and sent out, you don't know. And it's just like, you can treat your fish. We often don't know what we're treating our fish for, if they got better because the treatment worked or they just got better because they got better. We don't know. Steve and I aren't veterinarians. Fish veterinarians are hard to find. So it's not a satisfying answer. And no lesions. That's good.
So that's the thing. Where does mycobacteria start on the body of the rainbow? Or
we can make them just waste away first, and sometimes they die before they get a lesion. Is that myco? I don't know, but it's the most common thing we see rainbows getting. Is it possible they had something else? Sure. It's also possible that fish just hit its head really hard and eventually succumbed to an injury.
I lost a Cali Tawa because I turned on the light in the middle of the night because I needed to grab a plant. I was either doing that or I was doing water changes or both. All I know is I was disturbing the tank too much at the wrong time, and one of the Cali Tawas just flipped the hell out and like wedged itself somewhere, and then looked all scraggly and like not that great the next day, and then it disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, I just think about we had a friend who was 45 and he dropped dead of an aneurysm. He exercised every day. He was in perfect health. He never smoked. He didn't drink. He was only 45. Things just happen. And they just happen to fish more frequently than they do to humans because they don't live as long. So, yeah. And Ryan says you'd be surprised how often rainbows break their own backs. Yeah, because they're swimming at breakneck speeds. And if you have any hardscape, it's something they can run into. They can run into the sides. It happens a lot. I mean, I see injuries on their mouths a lot.
All the time.
Those they recover from, but they run into things. And that's why I don't like pointy hardscape with rainbows, because it's more for them to hit. So not to say that they hit your hardscape, but it happens.
You would see that, like it'd be pretty noticeable.
I mean, they can run into the side though when you're not looking, and then
break their backs. Like Ryan said, you'd be surprised how often rainbows break their own back.
Yeah, or they get a head injury and they succumb a few days later. Humans
kind of makes you wonder if these rainbows are even meant to be kept in even a 4-foot tank. Like,
sure. I mean, I guess what I've noticed is that the bigger tank you keep your rainbows in, even with the same care and the same feeding, they grow a lot bigger and bigger tanks, and they grow bigger faster. They grow bigger faster. And people who have like 8-foot tanks, their rainbows get so much bigger than mine do, and so much faster. So, they're a zippy fish that likes to swim. It's just the way they are.
6 foot long tank. Yeah, it's like the longer the tank, maybe the more momentum they build up as they're speeding across the tank too. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, Zenny says it's maybe the pointy faces and not the hardscape. I mean, they run into hardscape. I've seen it. Like,
yeah, there's a lot
nothing to do with their pointy faces. They run into things.
Zen just wants to body shame.
She does, and that's not cool because we don't body shame you, Zen, even though you never come up on stream. Like, be nice to rainbows. Ooh. That was mean. I don't care. Peplin Creek has very good advice. Ramp up and ramp down your lights is really helpful for spooky rainbows. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, a half hour is all you need, and it really helps. And I don't know if every light will do that, but mine do. Can you do that with like a Hygger light?
No. Nope. Hygers are just like, good morning.
Yeah. So there's no like thing you can put on them to.
There might be it. I mean, they're not all the same. Like the basic Hygger light, it's just on and off. There's the night crews have an inline dimmer that's also good. Compatible with other brands of lights, but not with the Hygger. What else? The co-op light, it doesn't have like a long ramp up, but it has like maybe a 5-second ramp up, and even that seems to be pretty helpful.
Enough to help, yeah. I mean, I do a 30-minute ramp up, and that's plenty of time. If you don't have ramp up, but you have more than one fixture, you could at least turn on one and then 10 minutes later turn on the other. That help a little. Prodigal Aquarius says rainbows need padded tanks. Every day is a school. I mean, they're really zippy. They're really zippy. So Barbara Jackson wonders, I wonder how big rainbows would get in a big pond in a place like Florida or other warm places. The person who would know would be the guy, Mike, at Imperial Tropicals, who breeds them. He breeds them outdoors in Florida. I do know that if you breed rainbows outside, you can take siblings, from the same egg clutch. I almost call them litters, but they're not that. And you can raise some of them indoors in a tank, some of them outdoors in a tub. The ones reared outdoors will just be stunning and so beautiful and so colorful compared to the others inside. It makes a big difference. Mm-hmm. But we should ask Mike at Imperial Tropicals.
Laura staggers light. Don't come on till the sun is risen. Yeah, that helps too. Corey said the same thing. Like, let some light come into the room. And yeah, there are some Hygers out there that do have the ramp up.
Okay.
I have the basic bottom of the barrel Hygers personally.
Yeah. Whip says that Jeremy Aquarium Domain maybe just got some. So
okay.
Yeah. Zenny says, trust me, body shaming karma is definitely one of the reasons I don't stream. I don't see any body shaming here in this community. Do you, Steven?
No. I mean, most of the negative talk happens in like private chats and stuff where they're safe. There's no public trolling that goes on.
That's right. I mean, we would ban anyone who did that. So you can come up on our streams anytime without fear, and we will love you just the way you are. Because I guarantee you're hotter than Steven and I.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm super old, and Steven is getting super old too.
I'm not 40 yet, but I'm sure Zen will tell me how many days I've got left, though.
That's true, because Steven and Zenny's daughter have the same birthday. That's right. So Corey says, I have the room light come on first and off last. Yeah, I think that really helps. For me, that's not an option because I have my lights come on at noon. And by then, the sun is up. So, but I have a ramp up. So 117 days till Steven's 40.
Well, shit.
How much older are you than Jenna? Like 2 years?
2.5 years.
2.5, yeah.
Ish, yeah.
Yeah. Jake is 4 years older than me, almost exact. So, but I have to say this. Brooklyn's son thought I was 34. Yes. Yes.
I did not even dare ask him.
I think because his mother is about that age.
Brooklyn is 30. I don't know. I'm not
She's about that age.
She's not here, so I'm not gonna.
She's adorable, is what she is. She's adorable. Passing Wind says, I regret to inform you that you are still jailbait. No one goes to jail for being with a 47-year-old woman. It just does not happen. I'm quite of age. I get carded. Or I don't get, I get carded in places where they card everyone. I don't get carded because they think I'm 18.
When's the last time that you would have needed to get carded anyway? Or like,
I buy wine for cooking. You know, I bought some hard liquors for cooking too. I bought some brandy for Christmas for some recipe I cooked. So I bought some rum. Yeah, I bought rum for Christmas. I don't drink it, but I do cook with it.
Yeah, we drank wine. 0 alcohol last weekend.
Well, I think Brooklyn had one drink.
Oh, that's right.
She had a lemon drop. But
fancy drink.
Yeah, which she was at a restaurant, so it's the time. But yeah, I don't drink. I had hot chocolate though, so I did drink calories, which I don't usually do. So
did you see on Discord the list of plants that I just purchased from Joe Harvey?
I did. A bunch of crazy stems. Some of those I had never heard of before. That's pretty exciting. They're not really things for me. Hygrophila triflora. I don't know that one. Bacopa saltzmanni purple. I thought you had that one.
Yeah, I tried it. Yeah. Now I know a little bit more, and I'm going to try it again.
I think it'll look good under your new lights.
I asked him also because I had read somewhere that like the saltzmanni purple needed KH below 3, but he's growing his right now in KH 6, and that's not too far off from me.
Yeah, so. I have KH 6, so. Yeah, Limnophila rugosa. I don't know that one. Limnophila hyperoides. I think I've grown that one.
Yeah, that one's basically nice. The aromatica, but with more leaves per node.
Yeah, I like Limnophila aromatica. Penthorum steroides. I don't know that one at all.
Rotala, I had to look up a few of them.
Yeah, Rotala blood red SG. Just keep that one away from me. I don't want any Rotalas. And then Persicaria Sao Paulo. I know other Persicarias, but not Sao Paulo. So that's exciting.
I'm trying to turn my Rotala into the new duckweed. Like everyone who gets member plants will get a little sprig of Rotala mixed in there.
Oh, wow. I don't want any of those because I don't want stems, but I'm excited for you. Stems are beautiful. I just don't want to deal with them. So
they grow fast and
they do
make for some more surprise member plants. This is the Persicaria Sao Paulo.
Oh yeah, I have seen that before. That's very pretty. Yeah, cool.
So yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
I still have to make room for these plants. I have 0 room for these plants, but I bought them anyway. I'm also getting new fish this week.
What are you? Oh, right. Your fish from Dan.
Yeah, so I won the rainbow gobies.
Nice. You're going to love those. They're so cute. Put them in one of your little tanks.
I'm putting them in a 29, I think.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah,
I could put them in the 15 though. It depends on how many I get. I might put them in the 15 in the bedroom just to see them more.
Yeah, they're cute little fish, and eventually you'll want more of them because they're little. You can put a lot of them in a tank. Cute.
And then I ordered a few extras to fill the box. Your favorite live bearers.
Did you end up getting the swordtails?
I got the Nezzy swords, a pair of those.
Ooh,
and I'm looking to see what they were. It's a platy, but it was like a bright ass platy.
He gets some really pretty platies. I'm not into live bearers, but he does get some really pretty ones.
Fancy sunrise high fin platy.
Fancy.
So I'll put that one in another tank and then add a few to the mosh pit here and there.
Sure, why not? Throw them in.
Need that pop of orange.
Yeah. Those
Yeah, I
look
saw Steve posted a short of his rainbow gobies. He got some.
nice. I have the Stiphodon atropurpureus and the Stiphodon like the turquoise species ones and or neon blue ones. And I like them. I think they're cute. They're very cute. I've had the Rhodalaria, but my tank was not mature enough. You really, this is not true of your tanks. They're fine, but you need a tank that's at least 6 months old or they starve to death. That's what I've learned.
Gotcha. I say there was a question for you from Benjamin. I gotta find it. Here it is.
All right, since we are sort of on food topics, what did Kelly and Jake have to eat that made a great or terrible impression on Louisiana? So all impressions of Louisiana food are positive because Louisiana has great food. I mean, some of it's better than others, obviously. I was sad that I couldn't get the shrimp and grits I wanted. I guess that's the negative impression at this restaurant we've gone to the last couple years. I was sad about
that. They changed their menu. They instead of it being Bistro Byron's for both locations, it's like Brasserie Byron's.
Yeah, I was sad about that because I really was looking forward to that shrimp and grits. I mean, there are lots of ways of making shrimp and grits, but theirs was really good. I think the best thing I ate, so we had these they're called crab lollipops. So it was kind of like a crab cake, but they take the little leg of the crab and they dip it in the crab cake mixture and bread it and fry it. And then you take the little handle of this, like the pincer claw of the crab and you just eat it like a lollipop. Oh my God, those were so good. And then I had this bisque that was like a crab, cauliflower, and brie soup. Man, I could have had a gallon of that. That was so good. I mean, not for you, Steven, because you don't like creamy things really. But
I can enjoy a bisque.
It was more of a cauliflower soup that had a little brie and crab in it. It was so good. I could probably make that. Well, minus the crab. Crab is kind of hard to find up here that's any good. But I love cauliflower soup. It's really good. So I really like that. But for Jake, I mean, he had some. I think he liked the gumbo he got at the last place because, I mean, I don't make gumbo, so it's nice for him to get. But yeah, food is really great in Louisiana. They know how to cook down there, and it's not super expensive. It's kind of the opposite of Morgantown, Pennsylvania, which the food is both expensive and terrible.
Yeah, and it's well seasoned down here. Sometimes a little over seasoned for if you're kind of
up there is just kind of
wimp.
Bland, expensive, and greasy. Just not great. All right. So, have either of you had the mountain swordtail live bear? I'm not a live bear person, so it wouldn't be me.
I have not, but I will this week because that's the Nezzy sword. It's
that's the Nezzy. Those are great.
Northern Mountain swordtail. I got a pair of them. Zephophorus Nezahualcoyotl, which is why they're called Nezzy swords.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those. They'll be really pretty. I think swordtails are beautiful. Like some of those red ones, like they're
and I normally, cool. If I'm getting a live bear, I go for like the super ornate, domestic, bright color one. So I wanted to deviate from what I normally do.
Nice. Go for Lentipes or Sikiopus gobies. I have had Sikiopus gobies and I really liked them. The only thing I didn't like about them is they rasped swords a little bit. Not as bad as a pleco would, but they kind of trashed them a bit. But I really liked them. They only lived a couple years. I just don't think they were super long lived, but they were cute. I liked them, and I had them in this big tank. The little guys I have in this tank, and I like those too. So you said they take frozen and prepared foods. I agree. Mine would eat flake, bloodworms, no problems to feed at all. And I don't have any problems with the Stiphodon gobies either. You just have to make sure your tank is at least 6 months old. I've found they really need Alfuchs to graze on. Otherwise, they're very easy fish. No problems at all. So Ryan also says that Persicaria species Sao Paulo is amazingly beautiful. Good to know. Ryan has super Seattle soft water, like the low KH stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. It's a gift to the gods. Oh, good.
CC is not looking forward to finding food at the clat. So there might be some food trucks that are decent.
The food trucks were decent.
They're still with the giant buffet, the largest buffet in the U.S.
Which has its charms. You know, it's a giant ass buffet. So there's something to it. But, you know, it's just not a region of the country known for its cuisine.
There's so much to do and like a lot of socializing going on that sometimes we forget to eat anyway.
There's so many wonderful friends there, and it's just so good to see everyone. And there's so many cool vendors and cool fish to buy. You know, I bought really great fish there, and the fish show has so many great fish in it. The talks are really cool. There's so many good speakers. So it makes, you know, you're just not going there for high cuisine.
Oh, if Scotty is listening, he wanted a 5-minute to 10-minute warning to start his stream up, and I figured we'll wrap this up soon.
Yeah, I would say
I gotta eat and do some work.
Yeah, I have to do my taxes. My accountant is
oh shit, I gotta do taxes too, but
yeah, my accountant is really mad at me. I need to do that. He's really mad at me. So Jody says, I also have a Dan's order showing up tomorrow. Huzzah! Fancy golden albino mollies, orange sun-kissed shrimp, Butiphoria quaicawensis, I don't know what that one is, and Aromizon compactus. I don't know what either of those are. So
I think so Aromizon, is that a hill stream of some sort?
Probably. I know she's into those. Those are cool. I don't know what the it's probably Beaufortia, not Butifortia.
The Demon Eye Hill Stream Loach.
Yowzers.
Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Expensive as all get out, but I wouldn't mind having a couple dozen of these.
Them are pretty. Wow. Yeah, those are cool. Well, enjoy, Jody. I hope they breed for you. I mean, that'd be great.
Euphoria. Another hill stream loach. And
she's into them.
The butterfly hill stream loach. Okay.
Oh, I've seen those before. Those are pretty. Cool.
Very cool.
Nice.
And Dennis Engel has joined membership. Thank you for joining.
Welcome.
For the new members, you can go to the membership tab on the channel, and you scroll down a couple of posts, and there is a link to a Google form to get some free plants that you'll get sometime in the next few months. We've been shipping out a set of them every week, depending on weather. Like we started with Texas and Florida and like southern states, and then a few places and like Washington were decent weather, and it's getting a little easier now. So cool. Every week send out a few boxes here and there.
Nice. So Zenny's mentioned that beignets are the only important food. So we did have beignets when they're down there, which Jenna mentioned is just fried dough, powdered sugar. Those are good. But I would posit that the king cakes are where it's at. It's king cake season.
As long as you get a non-traditional king cake. Traditional king cakes suck.
And we went to the grocery store with Jenna, and there were like 25 different flavors of king cake. It was crazy. And we ended up getting turtle, which, you know, was like caramel and pecan. I didn't like that one because it had fake whipped cream in it. And I think fake whipped cream is gross. And then, but we also got eclair, which had like the custard filling and the chocolate icing. That was where it was at. And Jake agreed. That was the good one.
Jeff Kane. We've been caned. Thank you, Jeff. Gifted 10 memberships. They went to Coro Works. It's Freaking Bats. It's a great name.
That's a good one.
RCT, Kieran Kelly, Mike's Bulgarian Green, Randy Knopf Ace, Stephen Hollett, Stacy Hart, Claire H. Did I miss one? Okay. Cool. Thank you, Jeff.
And Jenna says that Jake and I spun a wheel for a random king cake flavor. They had a wheel there, a huge wheel you could spin with all. And we landed on a blank space,
which
was
defeats
lame.
the whole purpose of the wheel.
I know. I'm like, oh, this is not helping us. So we did end up just picking 2 king cakes. So Jake picked one and I picked one, but we both liked the eclair one better.
Nice.
But king cakes, the flavored king cakes are pretty fun. So, they have king cakes sometimes up here, but they're only the traditional ones with the colored sugar. And they're always like lame grocery store, dried out, stale,
so very dry,
nasty, not worth it. But yeah. So Barbara says I'd be having gumbo, crayfish etouffee, and all that kind of stuff. Well, we did. And she says I can get sweets anywhere. I'm a certified sweet tooth though, Barbara. Like we went to this breakfast buffet and I'm like, well, where's all the sweet food for breakfast? Like,
Barbara, I dare you to come to Louisiana and call it crayfish though when you order it at a restaurant.
That's true. Don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, I ended up they made me lemon blueberry French toast, which I liked quite a bit because I'm a sweet tooth. So I don't skip dessert.
Oh, before we go, Brenton brings up a good point. The Fishfam link stream will be, I believe, Big Steve is the shopper and sponsor for that one. It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central, and it'll be a giveaway to the Garden of Eden.
Nice. That's awesome. Grant and Shelby are cool people. They are awesome supporters of the Fishfam. Fishfam link. You know what? If you're not a member of Fishfam link on Patreon, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing with your money? Do you really need Netflix? You don't. But Fishfam link, you could support it. I support it. That Kitty's a supporter.
It's worth it.
I will not be at that stream because I have a work meeting.
Oh. Wait, really? It's 7 o'clock Eastern time?
West Coast company.
Oh. Still, that's late. That is. I have to schedule a lot of meetings. I never schedule no 4 o'clock meetings.
It's 4 o'clock for them. Yeah, it's journal club. There will be like 30 people there, and I will not say a word. And then I'll go to yoga afterwards. So, yeah.
Well,
lame.
All right. Well, I believe Scotty is setting up his stream. Hagen Hill goes live also at 6 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah.
I didn't see Steam Pot scheduled. Don't know.
I mean, it's not easy having a baby. Maybe they could just concentrate on having a baby who's probably like difficult right now because the baby's 2 weeks old and 3 weeks old, 2 weeks old. Not old. Let's put it that way.
Oh, they
not
are.
Easy having a baby.
They got to crank out that content. YouTube doesn't rest.
That's true. Oh man. Yeah.
Well.
So, but
you
thank you, everyone.
Choices. Thanks, everybody.
Lots of choices. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to anyone who bought memberships and who super chatted us. And thank you, everyone, just for asking your questions. Thanks to our replay crew and our lurkers. Maybe consider de-lurking. We want to talk to you.
Say something.
Say something.
All right. See y'all next week.
Bye, everyone.
And Steam Pots are not streaming, says Zen.
Okay.
Possibly.
Well, it's not easy having a baby. So.
All right. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.